Hello everyone, welcome once again. So we are proceeding with actually getting our API to work, to taking images and give us predictions. So we'll be proceeding by having our prediction repository where we are going to write queries, SQLAlchemy queries, not SQL queries. SQLAlchemy queries to actually fetch data from our database. So from datetime, import datetime. From SQLAlchemy, import select. From SQLAlchemy .x, import integrity error. From SQLAlchemy .x .async IO, import async session maker once again. Let's now import our domain entities and interfaces. src.domain .entities .detection, import detection. Then we do this, import prediction. We then have this as prediction. Okay. So we then import our interfaces from src.domain.interfaces .prediction store. Import the high prediction store. Okay, we then have from src.infrastructure.db .prediction log. Import prediction log. We also import our logger, utils.logger, import get logger. Our logger is equal to get logger. Okay, so we then define our prediction repository. Yes, which should interface with our prediction store. We then define our init self, then taking the session factory, not this. Session factory is what our async session maker. Okay, this returns none. Def, that was a bug. So we then say self.session factory is equal to session factory. So we need to have a save, async def save, which will take in what? Self and our prediction, which would be what? Our prediction. And it will do what? It will return our prediction. Okay, so we then use try and except. Let's have this except exception as e as he. We then do logger.error. Logger.error, error occurred, saving prediction. Then e, we then erase that error. So to make this easier, let's just do copy and paste. For our get on reviewed update review, get unreviewed, even though we'll be updating it. We'll also have update review. Okay, so let's now proceed to completing our save. We then open an async session, async with self.session factory, open and close parentheses as session. Okay, so we then say log is equal to what? Our prediction log. Yes, we then say image URL. Image URL is what? Our prediction, the image URL. We then say our detections is what? We have to serialize that into a list, into a dictionary rather, d.dict for d in prediction dot detection detections. So we then take this to say model version is equal to our prediction dot model version. Then we then say our confidence. We do the same thing. Scores is equal to, let's just do the same, something similar as what we had here. d.dict for d in d.dict, but this now we have to check the d.confidence, not the d.dict. For d in, okay. So after we do that, we now say session dot add log. We had that log. We then commit our data, session dot commit. We then say await session dot refresh. Again, you can't know this except you read through the documentation. We then have logger.info. We've saved our prediction. Saved prediction for which is we have our ID. Log now since does ID model version is what log the model version. Here they have it. And we then say, before we proceed, right, we need an helper method to help us convert our database model class into our predictions. So we then have to define a static method and say def to domain, which takes in our log, which is our prediction log, and returns a prediction. Okay, we then say return it as a prediction and say ID is what? Log the ID. Image URL is what? Image. Log the image URL. We then say model version is log the model version. We then say our detections is what now is different. We now say detection. Do we import detection here? Let's confirm. Okay, detection. We then load that into a dict for d in log dot what? Log dot detections. Okay, we then see our actual label is what? Log the actual label. We then say is correct is equal to log dot is correct. We then say our created at is log dot created at. We then say our reviewed at, which we need, even though it might be none, log the reviewed at. Okay. So here now, before returning what we have, we then say return self dot to domain, and let's have the log. Okay. So, but we need to catch another exception, right? Which is integrity error, not like the general exception. Except integrity error, then we say integrity error saving prediction. Integrity error saving prediction we also raise. So let's proceed to our get unrevealed. So this will be taking limits and offsets like we saw in our previous video. Get unrevealed, which are both integers. Limit int is what? Default 50. Offsets is also int, which defaults to 0. So we then want our same async session. Let's fetch this and let's paste it here so we won't have to be retyping all that. Okay, so let's proceed. We then say our statement is what? Select what? Select our prediction log. Dot where prediction log dot is correct is none. Is correct dot is none. This is the syntax for SQLAlchemy. Dot order by. We then say prediction log dot created at dot make it descending. Then we then limit it. Limit offsets dot offsets. Also our offsets. We then say results is equal to await session dot execute our statement, and we then say logs is equal to results dot scalars. Again, you only load this while checking documentation dot all, return all the results. So we then have to return our self dot to domain a list of predictions to domain log for log in results. Okay, so when there is an error, we say error occurred when fetching unreviewed predictions. Unreviewed predictions. An integrity error cannot happen here. Why? We are only fetching data. We are not inserting data into our database. So we then have to come to our update review now. So this takes in our prediction ID, which is a UUID. Let's import it here now. UUID import UUID. Okay. So this takes our prediction ID, which is what? A UUID. And takes in what? Actual label, which is string. It also takes in is correct, which is above. Okay, so we then come to our session once again and say our statement is what? Select once again prediction log the where prediction log.id is equals prediction ID. Cool. So we then say result is equal to await session.execute statements. Okay, so we then say our log now would be scalar result dot scalar one or none, because we are trying to get a single result. So it can be none or it can be a valid row in our data. So one or none. If log is none, we just have to raise value error. Prediction ID is not found. Prediction ID is not found. Okay, so if it exists, right, we then say log.actual label is equal to what? Actual label, and what? Log the is correct is equal to is correct. We then say log the review that. So also note down our reviewed at is what? Datetime dot UTC now. Yes. We then do our session.commit. Await session.commit and log our data, that logger.info reviewed prediction for ID. Okay, so error occurred updating prediction for ID, prediction ID with that error. So I guess we are good to go now. So we then have to go to our prediction service. So our prediction service implements prediction score, prediction store by delegating to repository. Okay, so we then have this as now. This is important because what if we want to add some conditions? Okay, before we even do that, from data classes imports as dict from src the domain the entities in dot prediction import our prediction, and from src the domain dot interfaces the prediction store imports our prediction store. We then have our prediction service now. Prediction service, which implements our prediction store. We then say our def init takes in the self, also takes in our repository, which is what? Our iPrediction store. So we then do this, okay. We then say our self dot repository is equal to repository. So we then do our async def, save, self takes in our prediction, which is our prediction, and returns back our prediction. Okay, so we then return. So in this case, right, we might want to have some conditions to say, oh, if prediction dot int is not, or the id is not UUID, or something like that. That is why we need to have a service layer and some other operations like that. So well, now let's just continue. Return await self dot repository dot save our prediction. Okay, so we then do for get unreviewed, async def get unreviewed. This takes in the self, takes in the limits. In subsequent videos, right, we are going to convert this to page number and page size, but not now. Offset is what is int, which is equals to 0 as usual. It returns a list of predictions. Okay, we then do the same thing. Return await self dot repository dot get unreviewed, then pass in our limit and our offset. We go to the next one, async def update review, also takes in ourself, takes in our prediction ID, takes in, which is our UUID, from UUID import UUID. Also we take in our actual label, label, which is also string, and last thing is correct, which is going to be a bool. It returns none as usual for this method. We then do return await self dot repository dot update review. We send in everything as usual, prediction ID, actual label, then also is correct. Okay, in some cases where we want to actually get our unreviewed as dict, let's just define that. Get unreviewed as dict. So we take in ourselves, let's just copy this. Okay, so this is going to be returning a list of dicts instead, a list of dicts. So we take in the same thing. So instead of returning this, we just say our predictions is equal to await blah blah blah, and we then say return as dicts for our p in what, our predictions. I think we have a wrong spelling of predictions in this code base. Predictions, there is a wrong spelling somewhere. Exactly, predictions. Okay, so We then proceed by saying, let's wire up our container. Let's continue our container wiring up. So we have our DB engine, we have our model bundle, we have our runner, we have our storage. We can then have our repository and service. Repository and service. So we then do our prediction repository is what? Providers.factory. We want a new repository for every request that comes in, which is why we have factory. Prediction repository, we've not imported that. Let's go and import that. And our prediction service. From src.infrastructure.repository .prediction, import our prediction repository. Do the same for service. Let's just copy this to make things faster. Instead of our yes, now we have our services. Then we get our prediction service. Okay. So we then come here and say, what are we giving to our repository? We are giving it a database session. So session factory is what? Our DB engine dot provided, what it has provided for us, the session. Okay. So we then go to our service to prediction service is what? Providers.service.factory rather. We then send in our prediction service. We then say, come here, repository is equal to what? Prediction repository. Okay, I guess we can now wire our core pipeline now. Pipeline core is what? Our inference pipeline is equal to providers.factory. We want a new provider. We want a new inference pipeline for every user. The factory. We then say inference pipeline. Runner. Our runner is what? Our runner, all good. Our storage is what? We have a storage, right? Storage, even though we are not using it yet. Storage. We then have our store is our what? Our iPrediction store. Not our iPrediction store in this instance. Now our store would now be our prediction service. Yes. Prediction service. We then have our confidence threshold. Let's confirm in our inference pipeline in core. Confidence threshold or good is equal to what? Let's get this and pull it from there, from our settings, our DB settings, on our API settings rather. Where is our confidence threshold? This is it. So let's copy it and come back to our container. So let's start up our API to confirm if it actually works. Python main.py, or if we have any bugs. Okay, there is a bug in container which says my inference pipeline spelling is wrong. src.core line what? Line 11. Inference pipeline. Okay, so let's clear our terminal and let's run it once again. Confidence threshold in where inference pipeline.py. Okay, it tells me, oh, this is wrong. That's another bug. Okay, so let's clear this once again. Let's run our main.py. We have a new bug, repository dot prediction repository in where? In our container. Prediction repository, that was another bug that we have to fix. As you can see, it tells us that module not found. So let's clear this and let's run our API once again. It says we also, that is in where? Oh, this is wrong. This should be here. Prediction repository. Let's confirm that we do not have that problem in services too. Prediction. Okay, so I guess we are cool to go. Let's start once again. Okay, I forgot a comma in here. Okay, let's run this once again. We have fixed several bugs. Okay, so there's no comma here, right? Where am I forgetting a comma? Oh, log the predictions. No, in predictions. Oh, it's not here. It's in a repository. Line 31. I forgot a comma here. Okay, so that is fixed. Let's start it up once again and see if we have errors. We have a new one. Cannot import datetime from SQLAlchemy. Oh, that was wrong. Datetime. Okay, where is our DB prediction log? That's another bug that we have to fix. This should be date time, not that kind of date time. So let's update where we have it here. Date time. Let's also check our base. If we don't have that kind of error, it's the same error we have there. So date time. It tells us here that do we mean date time, not the small t, not the lowercase t in time. Date time here also. Okay, let's start it up once again and see if we still have bugs to fix. Okay, I forgot a comma in dbbase.py. Okay, it tells me again that there is another bug. There's another bug here, another one here. Okay, so let's clear this and let's run it again. We'll keep running until we fix all our bugs. Declarative attributes from sql.orm in our base.py. Okay. Okay. Declared is, it should actually be declared. I think it's not declarative. Let's try declared attributes and see if as declarative is different. Declared attributes, declared, let's see, let's run it once again. We fix the bugs one after the other until our API is back to starting. So prediction repository should be static method, not static method. That's another bug that we have to fix. Okay, once again, let's run it. No module name, SRC services prediction service. It caught me in another bug. Prediction service. Okay. So let's run our API once again. Domain.interfaces. Where is that? Prediction service. That's another spelling. Interfaces. Okay, we are fixing the bugs one after the other as they come. Prediction service. Where is that? In container. That's another bug. Prediction service. Let's update it here also. Okay. Let's start up our API once more. Oh, our API is back up. Haha, that is interesting. Let's reload our Swagger docs to confirm it reloads. Or let's do an hard refresh. Okay, it comes back. Okay, that's cool. So before we actually wire up our router to run our first inference, let's run a prediction from a file. Let's get an image of an apple online. Let's get it. Okay, let's take this image. Let's save image as. image for Apple. Okay. Okay, so let's create a new terminal so I can confirm that I have the Apple in my downloads. cd to downloads. Okay, ls, do I have my apple.jpg? Where is my apple or image apple? Where is it? What is the name of this image actually? Images apple. Okay, image, yes. Where did that download? Let's run it again to confirm the download location. Save image has. It saves to download. Okay, let's save it once again. Save image as apples on a tree branch. Let's clear this and let's do our ls once again. Okay, apples on a tree branch. Where is it? Where is it? Where is our image? Okay, images apple. I've seen one. So since we have this, let's try to test our inference pipeline. Yeah. So where is our inference pipeline? This is it. Okay, let's go to our main and let's run something. Test inference pipeline. Okay, so we then take our inference pipeline is what? Our container dot inference pipeline. So what do we have here? We have our run. Okay, so let's come here. Where is our main.py? Let's collapse all this since we don't need them for now. Okay, let's collapse our config, our else. Okay, so let's come back to main.py. We then say results is what awaits inference pipeline dot run. We then say our image parts. Where is my pwd? Okay, let's get this. Image part is equal to, okay, where is our apples on the tree branch? Okay, let's get this and let's put it in front. Okay, let's say our model version is, let's get our model version from our container or our settings. What's our model version? What's our model? Let's just use version 1.0. Model version, let's just use 1.0. So let's start up our API once more and see if we can have, let's log our results. Log logger.info prediction results in main. So we then have this as results. Okay, so let's start our API once more and see if we can have like an inference run. What does it say? Oh, but I thought we are not calling our storage anymore. Let's ignore our iStorage for now. Let's also ignore it in container. Let's comment our storage. Let's remove our storage for now. I think there is an issue. The issue is that I have not provided my environment variables for our storage, for our external storage. So let's run it once more. We should get a prediction. What is our error? Non-type object is not callable. We already removed our storage. We have our runner. We have our prediction service. Okay. So we need to fix this. What is our... Okay. Oh, we don't have our storage. That was a big bug. So let's start our API. Okay. Let's start our API. We did not storage. We are not using storage anymore. But let's try to fix this with an AI model. Let's identify the fastest route to solve this. ChatGPT. Let it pass the log for us. Container.inference pipeline. Okay. So we have our inference pipeline in container. Let's give it our inference pipeline so it can see what we have. DB engine. Oh, we should have kind of added like create async engine here, but do we need it? Do we actually need our create async engine since we already have it in there? Oh, we should have like added our database here. So that was what I was thinking about. So let's just clear this and let's run this. Okay, so we have to import our database from src.infrastructure.db.session import database. We're able to fix this faster with an help of an AI model, which is our database in here. Our database, so we should have added it. So let's close this out and let's run this. Okay, we need to install AioSQLite. That is important. AioSQLite. Okay, so let's run this and let's see. Prediction service takes no arguments. That's an error. Okay, let's see our container, our prediction service. Let's check what we have here. Yeah, so let's also go back there since that is fixed. And there is something we have not added to our main.py, which is very, very important, which is our db.createAll. Prediction service as what we need. This is our prediction service. Let's go through the bug for us. It says repository. Your constructor is misspelled. Oh, okay. That is why it thinks I'm not taking anything. That was also a big bug. Again, we are still going to have an error because we don't have our database table yet. We need to add something to main to ensure we have our database table. As you can see, our database is not there, so we need to add something. So which is our DB. We need to initialize our DB immediately after the model. So DB is what? Container.db engine. Then we then have to do await db.create all anytime our API starts. Okay, it says we need to install Greenlet. So AioSQLite. Let's add it to our requirement. AioSQLite and Greenlet. Okay, let's clear this and let's run this. Okay, base. I need to import base in my DB session from src.infrastructure.db.base. Import our base. So let's run this so that it can create all our tables for us. db.infrastructure.db.base. Oh, this should not be here. This should be in our session. That is another big bug that I created. Okay, let's start it up. Okay, as you can see, we now have a detection, but we still have an error to fix. We have to close our session immediately after we are done with it. So await db.dispose. db.dispose. Okay, so let's also try to fix this error. Let's see where the error comes from so we can save time. Okay, our container is doing something like, okay, prediction repository. So let's give it that so that we can have this solved. Okay, so let's see our fix. Okay. Okay. The current DI setup. Let's get our database for it and let's see what it can show us. Okay, it's okay. This is, I think it says our bug is here. Return self.session factory. Okay, so let's just update this as specified and we can then proceed to say, let's have this as a property. Okay, let's update this. So that should be a property as it said. So let's proceed to run our API. So as you can see, we do not have any error anymore and our code ran. We have our detection, we have our speed, we have everything. So in our next video, we are going to be moving this to a router, so we won't have to pass in an image in the local part. So we'll be providing it from a router endpoint. Thank you.